Yo, I'm back with another video. Today I am talking about stuff we already know, but I kind of want to go over in a new light because I hate when I do that. I hate when I start a video, I know what I'm going to say, and then I go, it's like, all right, dude, get it together. Okay, so in the, anytime you go, when you start getting awakened, enlightened, you come across this, you settle on whatever belief you like, right? So for example, you might settle and say, God's real. That's it. He's playing my life out for me. Nothing I can do. There's like several. I'm gonna list them because this is important for what I'm getting at in this video. Then you have the other view where it's like, okay, well, I don't believe in the devils and stuff, but there's that part. The first person is they don't believe in like all the evils and devils and stuff, right? And the second person's like, I believe in God. I believe in all the devils, and they're eventually trying to take over the world. The third is, I don't believe in God. And like they kind of just, they don't believe in any of this stuff. It makes them atheists, right? And then the last one is, which is like kind of what I am, is like, I am God. I'm connected to source, which is where all creation comes from. Because what I think is, you couldn't put, like if I'm human, and if I were to create all humans and create all life, you wouldn't even be able to have like a human mind, I guess you could say. So you can't put human traits on a creator. So I think that's why, source is better, creator. That's why I think like all those past religions call it source and creator, right? Because like, how the hell can you put terms on that? And then lastly, it's just like, I do believe that there is, evil's trying to stop us. But I kind of wanted today's video to take a look. I'm over here falling. Just re-look at something. Because there's a thing in the truth community, right? So take all those take all your beliefs, and I might actually have you believe new things after this video, honestly. I feel like what I'm saying is going to make you relook the way you think your beliefs. So a lot of this new age beliefs, right? And the thing is, I kind of got caught up in that at one point, right? Like maybe a year ago, I made a video like, I'm smarter than Plato, which I probably am, but in a sense of like thinking philosophy wise. But I mean, like, look at the New Ages is like, we're retaking old biblical stories and even like biblical events that happen, and we're saying like they're gonna happen, but we don't realize the connection or that they already happened, right? So for example, what I really want to focus on is Project Bluebeam, right? Project Bluebeam which is so funny, because this is how New Ageism is like separated from the Bible in a sense, right? Because we talk about the reptilians and other alien groups are gonna, they're already here. They're making us think that, God's gonna come down from the sky, or the fake gods, the real God's here, and then we're gonna kill the ones that are coming down, right? That's like Project Bluebeam. Hopefully I didn't jack that up. That is Project Bluebeam, right? Aliens coming down from the sky, we kill them. It's really actually God, but we're fighting against God, so then we're all like technically doomed to go to hell, right? But one thing we didn't look at though isn't Tower of Babel already Project Bluebeam? Isn't this just a updated 2022 version of Tower of Babel? right? Think about it. So we know Tower of Babel is about the people coming together and they wanted to reach God. Why, though? Were there any people behind them to influence this movement, right? AKA the Nephilim, the Fallen, AKA the Reptilians, which is what we separate them, right? A lot of people think the Reptilians aren't the fallen ones or whatever, like from the Bible and stuff. So it's like, what if that's the same story? It's the same one, right? The Reptilian got everybody to go up against God. It's the same exact story. So what does that, but the issue is in our truth community and like in the spiritual community, we constantly need new ideas. We constantly need to keep reinventing the wheel, right? We keep needing to make terms for stuff that's already been made. Like, one of the hot ones right now is retro causality, right? Retro causality is something that took place in the future affect the past, and something that took place in the past affects the future. I think there's actually a story in the Bible that actually talks about, I wish people, if I really, really read the Bible, I would be able to name it, but there's a story that talks about events will take place and you won't know when they occurred. It talks about like memory is going to be jumbled. Events, you're not going to be able to believe when things happen, what's true and what's not true. Retro causality. All of it is already repeating. And what the thing is, though, it builds up a new mindset of like, oh, I'm on to something. You're not on to nothing. This has already been laid out for you and you're following the breadcrumbs and you're eating it up. I'm eating it up too, right? I'm loving it too. But then you have to take a step back, right? Because like we said, this reality will give you whatever you want. So a lot of people are like, no, it's this theory. I don't know what the reality is. I think the truth is very, very fucking simple. It's very, very simple, right? Because if it wasn't, like, what I'm trying to say with this video is, notice how all the stories, notice how all the events, notice no matter what terms, it's already stuff that's happened. It's already happened. So that means that if events are constantly happening over and over and over, that means the truth is very simple and there's something happening along the way that doesn't, like, there's two things that happen, right? You could probably pinpoint two events that happen that we get wrong, or, the fallen get wrong every time. And we're like doomed to repeat the cycle. And it's just depending on what society looks like at the time is depending on the narrative of what they're capable to do. So of course we're in a high futuristic society, right? So of course we're going to say we're going to have projections come from the sky, right? But if all we can do in the time is we can build, well, let's build to God. Let's fight God and build up to him and fight him on his turf, right? So what I'm trying to say is, I think ultimately the truth is very simple, like I said, but I think it's not something convoluted where, like, I think let me, because I'm at 9 minutes. All right, let me get to the next point real quick, because I forgot to say that the one main thing, and the reason why is it's so important is because let's look at where conspiracies and see, look, listen, that's why I said you start the video and you be getting jumbled and shit. So the reason why I mentioned those 4 beliefs is because look what happens when a movement starts. When a movement starts, you just let it go, right? Notice how whenever a revolution happens, whenever we learn about how it got quelled, what happens? The people who want it quelled join the movement, right? They join the movement, but what do they do when they join the movement? They change the meaning of what it really was when it started. So just top prime example, Black Panther movement started to feed people feed people. And then the CIA joined, and then that's when they started being able to get armed and all types of stuff. And then they were looked at as a terrorist movement. But what does that do? It dissolves trust with black and brown people, right? It's the same thing with conspiracy community. Conspiracy community started with, in the beginning, it's like, what's really going on, right? But then now, you can't stop the conspiracy movement, right? You can't stop it, right? So you just join it and you change what a conspiracy really is. You can change what a conspiracy is. Same with religion. Religion was, hey, I understand. Like, that's why it's funny because I know this is a sidebar, but think about why in priest, I know this is a tangent, but think about why priests back in the day were so, like, whenever you play a video game, I know it's tangent, it might be a long video, but I hope you understand what I'm trying to get at. When you play a video game, a priest is always the buff, jacked dude, right? Why is the priest the buff, jacked dude? But it makes sense because back then, during that time, what religion really was, it makes sense why a priest couldn't have a wife, can't have sex. Because if demons and these entities are really real, he can't have a family because then he puts them at risk for all of eternity, right? His lineage. So he has to give that up to become that. So he has to be serious, self-constraint. And I say that because look where the priests are now, right? They're wimpy people, right? They cower in fear. That's what they're shown as. The de-evolution of what a priest really stood for has been ruined. That's what the purpose of a movement does, right? Eventually, the original meaning of what happens is lost, and then what does it get to? It all ultimately boils down to respect. You don't respect religion anymore. There was a time when, that conspiracy guy who would just be like, yo, think about like this. They'd be like, damn, yo, that guy really be thinking. Now it's like, he's crazy. Same with education. We're like viewing it as worthless. But it's not worthless if you were a engineer or some really, really techie guy. Then you're going to make your money worth. But if you go to school for philosophy and fucking English, you know what I mean? There's no money in that. You're not getting a job. So you're going to be like, it's worthless, which ultimately leads to lack of respect. So what I'm saying is all these movements have created a lack of respect, and we become more of like a shameless society, right? Acts of shame are now okay. And like we mentioned before, it all points back to the possibility that, like, it really makes me really think. I go, wow, the Nephilim and the fallen ones, they really are real. But every humanity wipe, whatever happens, that's one thing that we will never know, and we have to make our own theories for, is that whenever humanity gets wiped, they have to perpetrate it somehow. They have to, I think, because this is another narrative about man, right? Think about how it started. Man, I think originally man was born good, right? Now it's like, no, man is born corrupt. We're greedy. We're kind of bad. Right? See how it changes? Who starts that narrative? So ultimately, the goal is infiltrate society, make them shameless, bring them down, ultimately down to the same level they are, fight God. Constant cycle repeating. Literally, what is the concept of what's that anime? Crybaby. Watch that anime. I kind of spoiled it, but you should still watch it because it's exactly. And it's funny because, like, anytime somebody puts something on like that and it kind of resonates, you're like, damn. But there's a human part of you is like, damn, we're in that. But the thing is, last thing I'll say is, if the cycle is constantly repeating, doesn't it make sense to distract you with all these other things when the truth is very, very simple? But when the truth is very, very simple, you there's more choice. I know it sounds weird, but when the truth is simple, there's more choices for you to make, right? Because then you're like, I can always come back to it, right? Like, I feel like if there was 1,000 choices, right? Isn't it when there's 1,000 choices, you don't know what you should do? But when there's only 2 choices to make, hypothetically, in this reality, you can ultimately do whatever you want. Because you're going to be like, I'm going to get back to it. And I think that's exactly what they do. They create so many different avenues for you to focus on instead of the actual truth of what's going on in this reality. And then we're doomed to, repeat the cycle. I don't know. Let me know what you think. I feel like what I'm saying is, I'm going to just recap. Real quick recap. Our beliefs are determined by how low or how far astray you've gone. Is that a good way to word it? Like, the further you go astray from believing in source, the more corrupted I think you give up, and you ultimately praise money, you praise all these other like physical possessions, instead of realizing like, oh shit, I'm a divine being. There's actually people who want me to, fail. But when you but thinking, if you know that people want you to fail and you're a divine being, I feel like that's too much power. I mean, it's too much stress on you, right? Because that's why when people realize that they're the consequences of their own actions, they don't like it. They don't like being like, damn, I'm the reason why. Think about how many times when somebody's like, damn, like they'd rather shut down than realize that where they're at in their life is because of them, right? It's easier to point fingers. And that's where we're at. We're in a society where everybody's pointing fingers at everybody else but themselves. Granted, I do believe there's forces that are helping you go astray, but I still think you have the power to to come back. That's it. I hope that wasn't too wordy. I just feel like in the truth community, people are constantly making new ideas that are just like, bro, you just research a little bit and you'll realize that this has already been talked about. All right, later.